The world doesn't set itself into a poem every day. And from the poet's point of view, the poet's heart is not always ready to write a poem every time. But then there's a conjunction. The world sets itself into a poem. And really, your heart is into it. For God's sake, sit down and write it. With me is the person behind those lines, Mr. Vicente Butch Bandillo. Sir, for you, what is the role of poetry?
Well, that kind of question always throws me off guard because poetry is so much a part of my life that I don't think about it anymore. You know, what's the role of, just like you asked me like, what's the role of my wife? And I don't think I can give you a straight answer. Maybe you mean the role of poetry in life in general for everybody. Basically, I look at poetry as just one of human activities, you know, just a simple activity that I happen to want to do, and which I have achieved a certain facility in doing, and in that regard, I don't think of it as anything more important than other human endeavors, like politics, for instance. Although, if you ask a poet, I would say that the poetry indeed has a role in life. And, just as all beautiful things have a role in life. And as for whether it's meaningful or not, I would not dare say, but I am sure that it is important.
Are poets made or born?
Poets are decidedly born.
Mm-hmm.
But let me qualify it by saying that everybody is born a poet. So actually, all of us have the capacity to become poets. It's just a matter of circumstance or inclination or whatever you call it. That some of us don't get to develop this particular gift. You see. In pre-Spanish Cebuano culture, Cebuano society, everybody was a poet in the sense that during drinking, for instance, everybody can come up with a poem, especially the more tuba, the more lyrical the poetry becomes, and I suppose that is the kind of thing that I would like to happen again. And of course, we differ in terms of gifts. That is obvious. Like there are individual differences as to looks, as to height or weight or whatever. So all of us, we cannot all be great poets, but we can all be poets, I would say.
What do you believe are the roles of Cebuano writers nowadays?
I believe writers are thinking persons. So in the way that other people of other professions also are thinking persons. There is no, for me, special role of a writer, but as a person who has thought deeply, hopefully, and has considered the human condition, I think the artist or the writer has a very important role in society. He could act as a fiscalizer. He could act as somebody who probably clarifies certain issues. And I think of the writer just as I think of myself, not separate from me as a part of society. You might be aware that my day job is as a diplomat, and that is a kind of work that requires you to be so much in the world as in political affairs and all that. And yet I consider myself as somebody who does some kind of thinking apart from what I do every day, and I don't consider my contributions as outside of my day job as insignificant. I suppose that I am also qualified to comment on other aspects of life. Yeah.
What are the characteristics a writer should possess?
Well, I don't think there's a should. There's no requirement. I think maybe I would like to rephrase that question into something like, what do you think? What characteristics do writers have?
Okay.
Because it's not, I don't think there's something that can be prescriptive about writers, because I've studied the lives of all kinds of artists and writers, and they can be as different as two persons can be different. So writers can be all sorts of people. I do not say that there ought to be a characteristic, because like for instance, normally we speak of writers as let's say they are maybe observant people, like that. But that's begging the question, There are non-writers who are very observant, or for that matter, we speak of writers as those who look at the this sad side of life, or whatever you call it. But they don't have to be. So what I'm trying to say is that I cannot characterize a writer like saying that, he is wearing a full beard, he must be an artist. Of course not. I know a lot of standby who wear a lot of who have beards, and they are nothing at all. So I would not hazard to describe what a writer is in terms of characteristics that he ought to possess, or he possesses. I find the characteristics of writers to be in other kinds of professions as well. So I don't know, among my friends, I recall during the launching of my book, Cebuano book, and one says that why is it that writers are drunkards? That's a wrong question. I've seen writers who are not drunkards. I can say Rizal and June don't drink at all, and they are very good writers. On the other hand, I have a lot of lousy friends who are drunkards, and they don't even know how to write a simple letter. So it's just nothing that's wrong. It's wrong-headed. There are certain misconceptions about artists. No, writers can be just anybody, whatever characteristic you have. Yeah.
Can you talk about inspiration, sir?
Inspiration is a very much abused word, you see. We think of inspiration because, that drunkard, Edgar Allan Poe, is responsible for many things. About you have to be inspired, like inspiration is very important. And if you study literary criticism, that has been discussed even by the old writers, classical writers. But for me, when you say inspiration, it does not have to be anything special, anything. As a poet, everything in life itself in general inspires me. I don't have to be inspired by special things. Of course, I happen to be a very romantic person, but it has nothing to do with my abilities as a poet. I just happen to be, easy to. I fall in love easily, for instance, and that's a fault. But I don't have to be a poet to be that. I know a lot of friends who easily fall in love, and they are not poets. So it just happens to be my personal. So because which is like that, I'm inspired by these things. But so many poets I know are quite it's almost methodical, very methodical about the way they go on with their lives, and also with the way they write. And maybe they're inspired by different things, by perhaps the idea of order, the idea of like in binomial thing in computers, yes or no, or 0 and 1, that's it, and then there's a series. It could happen, but we can always speak of it as you need inspiration, or there has to be something. Whatever it is that moves you to write, or whatever it is that perhaps inspires you, or that will make you write, that's inspiration. Like a lot of people are inspired by ambition. I think Kurt Vonnegut was saying, he died a few years ago, or a year ago. He said that I've always been inspired by money. And now that I'm a very famous person, I earn a lot of royalties. I don't want to write anymore. I don't have the inspiration to write anymore, or something like that. So I think it can come in any form. But inspiration, as a romantic person, I would like to believe that concept should not be abolished. That we need to be inspired in order to write.
Thank you very much, sir, for those inspiring and wonderful words. Thank you so much. And this is Erlinda Gravines.